Asbestos is known as a magic mineral. It's impervious to heat and to fire. It's strong, it's light, and it's inexpensive. So in the Industrial Revolution, starting in the Industrial Revolution, it was used in a lot of industrial materials.
Companies that use asbestos knew that their products were dangerous. They knew that they would cause disease, and it was basically a calculation on whether or not they could pay the claims in the future and make more money today. And that's what they did. They said, yes, it makes financial sense, put it in the products.
By 1960, it was it was undisputed that asbestos exposure could cause mesothelioma.
And the only known cause of it in the United States is asbestos.
Mesothelioma is a horrendous disease that painfully ravages the body and makes some of the strongest men I've ever met into shadows of their former self. It is by far, and most medical experts would agree, one of the most painful diseases that you could possibly have.
It's just become more and more and more clear and undeniable that even the smallest exposures can cause this terrible disease. And then there's another track of the history that shows corporations, companies who made a lot of money making asbestos-containing products, covering up the dangers.
Anywhere that someone has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, we can help that person. We will go to their house. We will meet with you. We will talk about your different medical options and treatment. We will talk about the different kinds of support services that your family might need while they're going through this time.
It could be the husband, it could be the wife, sometimes it's a child. And without that financial recovery, there's times they may not be able to maintain the home. Because they're losing an income or a pension, they may have to sell their home. Because medical bills can add up very fast, and there's no support out there because not everything's covered by insurance. Traveling to hospitals where their specialties are covered, like the University of Chicago or Mayo Clinic or special cancer centers, that involves travel, airfare, even hotel expenses, that people need that money to be able to pay for those things so that they can get good treatment. Without the recovery, a lot of the families won't be able to survive, and with the recovery, it makes going through this illness a little bit easier, but certainly doesn't ever make them comfortable.
Before I became ill with mesothelioma, my life was beautiful. I used to ride bikes. I used to work with heavy equipment, demolition, rebuilding buildings. My last job actually became to be maintenance supervisor. One day I started feeling pains, chest pains, shortness of breath, also bit of dizziness. My boss decided for me to go to the doctor. They did certain tests, x-rays, took some of my blood, so on and so forth, and through the tests, they find out that I had mesothelioma. When I saw that I could not work anymore, that I needed help to be able to support my family while I'm going through the hospitals, because you cannot really work when you have to be 2 or 3 different hospitals in a week. And also with the medications that they give you, money is very important, especially when you got to pay insurance for the family and for myself. Medicines that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I had to do something, and I decided to put a lawsuit, especially because of the way I felt, that anger, that I didn't know why this was happening to me. So I had to consult some lawyers. Luckily, Levy Phillips and Konigsberg was there for me. I explained my situation to
we flew home and we flew to Boston. We had an appointment with Dr. Sugarbaker. Dr. Sugarbaker did meet with Andrew, and he pulled out some of the fragments and also the tests that were done in Hawaii. He explained to him that unfortunately the fragments of the mesothelioma had dropped off into his stomach lining and that they were moving rapidly. He also stated to us that at this time that it wasn't wise to have another surgery back to back like that. Well, the first thing I said to Dr. Sugarbaker is, okay, so where does this leave us? What happens at this point? He said, well, we've done pretty much everything that we can do. You just don't know how I felt at that moment. It was like I could have ripped up the hospital. I could have ripped up everybody that said something to me. I mean, it was just a flashback of my life from A to Z. Here I thought that I would be living with a mate happily ever after. And the whole time Andrew really never said anything. And I know that he was in deep, deep, deep thoughts. I was doing all of the talking at the time. We went back to the hotel in silence. He said, well, Tanya, you want to go out and get something to eat? But he didn't talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it. I couldn't even eat. I couldn't. Like, I don't know how to tell my kids. I don't even know how to tell myself. Dr. Sugarbaker never gave him a time or anything like that. He just said, go home, and he was going to give us some medicine, and that was pretty much it. We flew back to Detroit to tell our family. My daughter, no way. My kids, Me, no way. But every single day, I could see it taking effect on my husband.